Welcome, everyone. This is Joe Dager, the host of the Business 901 podcast. With me today is Mark Hunter. Mark is a thought leader, and I might add, a great speaker in the field of sales. He is also the author of two amazing books, High Profit Selling and his new book, High Profit Prospecting. He has branded himself as the Sales Hunter, which I guess is the best place to start, Mark. Mark, welcome. And what is the why and the what of the Sales Hunter?
Well, you know, when your father was fortunate to give you the last name of Hunter, you gotta use it in your business. So, you know, it really is. It's, you know, what I like to say is my whole goal is to help people find and retain better customers that they can close at full price. Hey, who doesn't want to do that?
Sure.
That kind of gets me a lot of business.
Well, it certainly does, I bet. And I guess I have to ask you, title of your books, you seemed, smitten, maybe is the right word, with that word high profit. Okay, what's the distinction when you're talking high profit? Is it selling at full price?
Well, it is, because here's the thing that I love to say: you can't take a Walmart shopper and make them a Nordstrom customer. Stop and think about that. How many times have we had to discount a sale to close the sale? And maybe it's because we were prospecting the wrong person. If you prospect the right person to begin with, then you can have a greater probability of closing them at full price, and really not just full price, but even a higher price, because they're going to see that much more value, that much more outcome from what you have to offer.
I always think when I'm down there selling someone and they're asking me the why and how it works and all these functional type questions, lots of times I'm going to get that bottom line price. But if I'm up talking to someone that's talking about value, all right, and how it's going to extend into my company, I'm having a different conversation, right?
Oh, yeah, different. And you know what's interesting is I really like to use the word outcome. You know, it's value we're creating, but it's really the outcome. And if you think about it, you know, we've gone through this era where, you know, you talk about product features. No, talk about benefits. Oh, that just bores me to death. When we talk about outcomes, what's the outcome that the customer is looking for? And if I'm asked to put a price tag on the table before I've really been able to validate your outcome, I know you're only a shop price. You know, you're a price shopper. And I don't want to do business with you. So again, this is why I've got to use a prospecting process that allows me to validate your outcome that much earlier, that much sooner.
This day and age, I want to frame this conversation, though, before we go too far. What do you mean by prospecting?
Well, that it means really not just getting a lead, because let me tell you something. There are so many lead generation tools out there. We can generate leads. When I mean prospecting, that means a qualified person who can buy from me. That's what I want to do. My whole goal in prospecting is to really have fewer prospects. Whoa! What did he just say? Yeah. Fewer prospects. Here's where I'm going with this. One of the challenges salespeople have is they get all these leads, and just because somebody responds or somebody fills something out or something, they think they're a prospect. No, they're not. All they are is a suspect. What I want to do is I want to have prospects, but I don't want to have too many prospects. My whole goal is to really have fewer prospects that I can spend more time with. If I have fewer prospects I can spend more time with, I'll have a greater ability to validate their outcome, build on their outcome, and really provide them the value solution that they're looking for. What does that allow me to do? It really allows me to close more deals at a higher profit.
Well, you mentioned there's a lot of ways to get leads. I mean, a lot of people are buying leads now. I know a lot of financial guys that they get text a lead or, you know, a lead sent to them and being texted, sent to 5 other people, so they have to respond to be one of the first ones there. And there's other services that create those leads for. Are they worthwhile? I mean, is that part of prospecting today?
Well, they can be worthwhile, but I got to validate them quickly. Let me share with you the thought, because this is really one of the outcomes of social media. You know, if you think about it, social media, you get all these connections, and And I'll tell you right now, you can't eat clicks and likes. You just can't eat. I've never found a way to put a click or a like on a plate and be able to eat it. And what I have to be cautious of, and I love social media, but here's a tweetable moment. Hashtag social media without social connection is social stupidity. You see, what I got to do is I got to get to that one-to-one relationship. Only when I get to that one-to-one relationship do I really have an opportunity to validate what your outcome is. Up to that point, all you're doing is finding out about me. Oh, really finding out about my features. If you really think about this, what are you doing? When you connect with me in social media and just in this broad general world, you're finding all these things out about me. What does that do? That almost creates a price-oriented world. So what I want to do is I want to get to this one-to-one relationship. Now, here's my nirvana of a perfect prospect. When I ask the prospect a question and they go, "Great question." Now stop and think about that for a moment. When that prospect says, "Great question," what is it doing? It means they're having to think. It means I'm having to think. It means we got a discussion. And when I can get you as a prospect into that level of discussion, now I've got a high profit prospect. What does that allow me to do? It allows me to really help you achieve a higher value outcome. What does it allow me to do? It allows me to have a more satisfied customer. What does it allow both of us to do? Really to create more money, because you're more satisfied and I can charge full price or even higher price. I want to maximize my revenue opportunities.
I always kind of feel that social media is out there to extend a conversation, not necessarily to create one. Okay? And, that's how I phrase it. How should sales use social media? I mean, you mentioned it.
Yeah, well, it is. It does a great job of creating and does a great job of extending. I'll share with you a situation. I was just yesterday in Chicago meeting with a company who we've engaged with. They're now a client of mine. And one of the VPs I was meeting with says, "Man, you create some incredible content. We've been using your content for a good couple years with our salespeople. We love you. We're so glad we're engaged with you." So what did I do? Somewhere along the line, something was created and they saw it and they engaged with me. Now, I wasn't sure that I didn't know they were engaged with me. They're one of just the many, many thousands of people that are out there on the internet and so forth. But along the way, I was able to ultimately take that to a one-to-one conversation, which then wound up creating a client I can work with, you see. So I look at social media and social selling as really being up at the top of the funnel. And here's a way to look at social media and social selling. If I look at whether it be LinkedIn, let's keep this from a B2B perspective, LinkedIn. My whole goal, I want to see LinkedIn as really nothing more than the telephone in a different format. That's what I want to see. I want to see it as a telephone in a different format. I'll give you a quick example. 6 or 8 months ago, I was just responding to some questions out on LinkedIn and participating in some discussions. I was learning, I was getting content and getting ideas and sharing content and ideas. And there was another person who was responding in this discussion. It happened to be in a group, and it was interesting. And then before I knew it, he shot me a LinkedIn message saying, "Hey, really interesting." And he posed a kind of a more private question regarding his business. I responded back. He responded back. Within about 3 messages over the course of about 2 or 3 days, he said, and never had a phone number, never had an email, never. It was all through LinkedIn. He responded back. He said, "Hey, I talked to my VP of sales, and I want you to talk with him this week." What did that do? You see, we were using LinkedIn as basically the telephone, okay? And then it really did shift to the telephone. He wanted me to hook up with his VP of sales. And did it turn into a client? Yes, it turned into a client.
So you're saying that social media does have a place, but I guess, where's the return? How much time should I spend? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Because that's a big issue. Because I mean, we can throw away a lot of time, right?
Oh man, looking at cat videos. Yes, yes. Here's what I say. Wake up each day and ask yourself this question. Is what I'm going to do going to be a revenue producing activity? If it's not a revenue producing activity, why am I doing it? We can't just sit there and say, in fact, I got into a long discussion with this the other day with somebody, a very successful salesperson. And I said, I don't spend more than about 30 minutes a day. This is me. I don't spend more than about 30 or 45 minutes a day max on social media, period. That's it. That's in fact really probably less, probably only about 30 minutes. That's it. I'm in and I'm out. Now, I do use some automated tools. You know, there's, how can you use automated tools? Wait a minute. Well, why would we not use some automated tools? There are some thought leaders and some real thinkers that I know they put valuable content out there, so I want to be able to share that with my audience. So I've got some tools running, but I really only spend maybe 30, 45 minutes max. And that's out of probably about an 11-hour workday, okay? So really it's only about 8 or 9% of my time. That's it. That's it, period. You have to earn the right. I see so many people going broke throwing content day in and day out on social media. I mean, it really, social media in and of itself doesn't feed your children. Now, I love social media, but see, I got to use it right. I get a lot of business off of social media. I get a lot of business from social selling. But it's one of my tools. It is one of my tools. It's not the tool. My primary tool is still, it is the telephone and it is email and it's face-to-face. I don't hesitate to get on the plane and travel to go have a sit down. 2 weeks ago, I flew down to Phoenix for breakfast. I live in Omaha, Nebraska. I flew to Phoenix for breakfast with a potential client. Why? Because it made sense. Now, not every business can do that and so forth. I get that. But don't think that I can just aimlessly throw stuff out on the internet and everybody's going to love me. Not going to happen.
Well, I work with a lot of SaaS companies, and part of their first things is they want to have the landing page, they want to build the sales funnel, and the problem is the sales funnel isn't like the funnels that probably you and I talk about. A sales funnel to them is just as automated as this click thing.
That's the problem. Right. Yeah.
And when we finally get down to prospecting, they're typically out of money trying the other things, okay, or sales prospecting. And they think of prospecting as something we hire 3 or 4 people and just start making a bunch of calls. Can you put something around that of maybe when a younger company should start, or even, and how they should start with prospecting?
Well, yeah, first of all, everybody needs to be prospecting. Prospecting is something like taking a shower. I would hope you do it on a daily basis. More companies get into trouble because they feel, we're going to build our business off referrals, or we're going to hit this home run. And everybody in the you must create an environment in your organization of prospecting. You must be saluting the salesperson who brings in the new customer. Now, let's get further upstream. Let's talk about when does it start. There is no reason why anybody can't pick up the phone and calls. Oh, but nobody answers the phone. Well, guess what? You know what? I find that to be a bunch of bunk. Now, here's why. Here's what I've found. I have done this on many, many occasions. I'll call somebody. I'll call a CEO. I'll call a CIO. I'll call various people up at the top of the food chain. And you're right. I get voicemail or I get nowhere. But you know what I'll do? I'll leave a very tight message. Voicemail message. Okay, fine. They don't return the call. I'm not concerned. I look at a voicemail message as really being something like a billboard along the side of the road. You see it. One billboard doesn't change your behavior, but you see enough of them and it does. So what I'll do is I want to reach you in multiple different formats. And don't sit there and say, I'm just going to hit them with emails. Well, guess what? Especially if you're dealing with a larger company, they've got some pretty good spam filters in place. And if you hit somebody with 3 or 4 messages over a fairly tight time frame, we'll say a month or so, and they don't respond, their spam filter probably picks it up and just says, that's a spam name. Boom, boom. That address never comes into them again. You see, and oh, I'm going to put tracking tools on it. I get it. Plenty of tracking tools to see if it's open and so forth. I get that. But guess what? I'm just measuring something. Am I creating results? And I don't want to measure. I want to create results. So what I want to do is I want to prospect to you using different formats and different measurements. And here's something else that I found. And let's talk about the top of the funnel. There may be 400 people on LinkedIn, but are 400 million people using LinkedIn? I know I was just recently dealing with, I just recently spoke at a major conference, 600 people in the audience, major industry, advanced degrees, critical industry to America. None of those people are on LinkedIn. None of those people are on Twitter. None of those people are on Facebook. They're just not there. It's just an industry that doesn't exist. What's interesting is huge industry. See, so it's totally dark to social media. And there's a lot more industries out there than we realize. So I can't sit there and rely on just one to think I'm going to get through to everybody. I want to use social media because that's, everybody's going to go there to validate, before if you were calling on me, I'm going to Google your name. I'm going to see I'm going to see what the internet has to say about you. So I got to create that social media presence. I get that. I totally get that. But don't think that I'm going to use that as the only tool I'm going to get in. So I'll use social media. I'll use the telephone. I'll use email. I use direct. I'll use whatever means is possible. And here's what I found. What works today probably won't work a year from now. I'll use a great example. Back here a few years ago, everybody was touting postcards. Postcards. This is about 7 years ago. Postcards. Nobody gets postcards. Send postcards. And then it seems like the real estate community adopted that as their go-to for everything. I can't begin to imagine the number of postcards. I can't begin to count the number of postcards I get every day from real estate people. It's no longer effective, you see. I got to continually be using different tools to stay ahead. So back to your question, when should a small company begin prospecting? They need to begin prospecting literally right from the get-go. And the three formats you're going to use. I'm going to use landing pages. I'm going to use social media, but I'm also going to pick up the phone and call. And I'm going to use all three of those. And I'm going to be calling the same people that are hitting my landing pages. I got to put everything into the funnel. I have to do the great strategy that is found on the back of every shampoo bottle. Repeat. Because too many times, too many companies start a prospecting process. They put their toe in the water, and then they get a customer, and yippee skippy, everybody gets excited, and they stop prospecting. You have to prospect every day, period.
The other side of that, what you just said, is one of those myths that you had in your book, and the one that hit the most truth to me, okay, that just jumped at me, okay, is we've made it this long without prospecting. And, because so many companies I get, especially IT companies, okay, when they go to scale, okay, they build a business because of relationships, who they knew, who wanted to trust them with their computer stuff, because the people, didn't know what they were buying, so they had to buy it on trust, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And now they want to scale, but they've never developed a repeatable process to acquire a customer. Should that be of a concern, like you just mentioned, to have a formal process?
Yes, it is. And this is why you see a lot of companies, they come out of the chute, they have some early success. And they think they're going to be the next Google. They think they're going to be the next Facebook. And then so as a result, they never adopt the practices of being hungry. And when you're hungry, it's amazing how you prospect. So what happens is then they get over that flurry of great new business, and then they go, what do we do? Yeah. Well, I mean, we have seen that time and time again. And this is a little bit of a side note to anybody in the investing side of the business. You have to be looking at any company you're going to be investing in, what's their prospect? What is their customer acquisition strategy? What is their customer acquisition process? And does it entail multiple formats, multiple methodologies? Because otherwise you will be unsuccessful. You will lose your investment. I look at prospecting a lot like selecting an elevator. And that elevator in a building will go to different floors. And see, each floor is a different process, because that's the other problem people get themselves into. They adopt one prospecting model. Well, we send out 2 emails, we do 2 drip pages and 3, and that's our process. That's our process. Probably not good. What I want to do is I want to have different models set up, because at any one time there's going to be wiggles and shakes. If you think about it, there's not just one Starbucks in your town. There's probably 100 Starbucks in your town. Why? Because each one's reaching a different audience. Each one is reaching a different type of consumer.
Consistency, continuity has got to be a part of not only a company's repertoire, it's got to be part of a salesperson's repertoire, right?
Yeah. Don't start what you can't finish. And see, this is where a lot of people, a lot of salespeople. In fact, it's funny. I was with this company yesterday in Chicago, and they said, yeah, we have a lot of salespeople. What happens is they get into trouble, so they start prospecting, and then they get a little bit of business and they stop prospecting. And then a few months later, they're out of customers and they got to start prospecting. And I said, yeah, because they're not consistent. You see, I would much rather have the salesperson that is just consistent, and consistent prospecting is going to vary by company, by industry. For some companies, you are dedicated to prospecting. You have dedicated prospectors. In other companies, no, it's if I just do 30 minutes a day, or if I just do 2 hours a week or 4 hours a week, again, you got to select that model. But here's what I've found. Don't let anybody convince you, well, we have this outside company that develops all of our leads, so we don't have to prospect. Oh, big mistake. Or we have a dedicated team. That's all they do is prospect. I think everybody in the organization, from the VP of sales, whoever it is, on down, needs to be doing this. Is creating that prospecting culture. What I've found is when I'm prospecting, in fact, it's very funny, but this afternoon, I'm going to be with a company. I'm going to be sitting on their outbound sales floor, literally making cold calls. And I told the senior management of the company, I said, I'm going to do it because I want to show you how it works. Now, let's put some parameters around cold. No, these aren't cold calls. We've gone through their database. We've isolated. We know the industry. See, it's not a true cold call. It's a warm call. But I want to show these salespeople how somebody without really I don't really know their business, but I'm going to spend 3 hours on the telephone, engaging. And I told him, I said, you know what? I'm going to be back again in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm absolutely looking forward to it. And it's funny, but I got a note this morning from the sales manager of the sales floor. He said, everybody in the organization is excited to have you come because they want to see, how does this guy do it? It's not a mystery. I think prospecting is, can I say it? Fun? Whoa, what did I say? Yeah, it is fun. It is fun. Because you know what I'm doing? Here's the thing. I'm not selling. My objective in prospecting is to help you see and achieve what you didn't think was possible. Think about that. I'm not selling. This company I'm going over, they sell a product. It's a B2B product. It really can help companies be better in this particular, thing that they do. My whole objective is I got to call people up and engage them in a conversation. Now, I'm not going to try to sell them on the first call. No. I mean, I'd love to, but my whole goal is to validate them. See, if I can validate them as a prospect, then I'll be able to come back and we'll have to figure out when I get over there. Am I going to close that sale then, or is somebody else going to close that sale? But the whole idea is that it's helping people see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. And oh, by the way, to do that, it's not scripts. It's not using a script. It's letting your personality come through. What are we doing here today? We're having a conversation. And you're seeing my personality and I'm seeing your personality. That's really sales. Sales is fun. I get excited about being able to do what I do. And if you're not having fun, then why are you doing it? Okay, I'll get off that soapbox. I'm sorry. I'll get off that soapbox.
Oh, no, I think that's great, because I think you bring some real valid points, because that's very typically when when you think about that, getting, rather than getting someone into some funnel where they get 3 or 4 emails, what would happen if they got a couple voicemails mixed with emails and they have the consistent pattern and you are offering value when you call? Okay.
Yeah. You know what? Let me jump on that value for a piece. And it isn't about saying how wonderful I am. Oh, we do that. Oh, shut up. Or I hate that. Every message I send a person is different. Everyone is different. Whoa, that's right. That's right. And what I want to do is I want to help people. For instance, I've got right here next to me a couple names of a couple Fortune 50 companies that I prospect. Even though I wrote the book High Profit Prospecting, and it's bringing me in all kinds of business, I still drink the Kool-Aid. I prospect. And these 2 Fortune 50 companies that I'm reaching out to, and I'm reaching out to very senior level people in both those companies. I'm not going to say, hey, I'm Mark Hunter, the sales hunter, and I can help your people prospect. No. What I've got is I've got some information regarding their industry. Their industry is going through some real flux. I'm going to contact both of these people today. I'm going to say, hey, I just saw some new information regarding a major significant change in the industry and wanted to share that with you. Give me a buzz. My number, 402-598-6194. And you know what's interesting is I give them my cell number. Now, I'm not expecting them to call back, but you see what I'm doing is I'm not selling myself, but I'm helping them see information that is going to be relative to their industry. When I send an email, it's the same way. See, you help people with their outcomes. The late Zig Ziglar had a great comment, great quote. He said, the best way to achieve success is to help other people achieve success. Wow. Now, he said it a little bit differently. I think he said, the best way to achieve your goals is to help other people achieve their goals. I've just kind of shifted that around to success. But, if you stop and think about that and see, what am I doing with these senior level people at these 2 Fortune 50 companies? I want to be seen as a peer. I can't go in as a sales. If I tried to contact my way in as a salesperson, yippee skippy, they're going to push me down. They're going to push me down to purchasing at best. But see, if I go in as a peer and develop that level of trust with them, one of them I've already had 3 or 4 contacts with. The other one I've only had 1 contact with. See, they're still way up at the top of my funnel. But I will be doing business with them. I guarantee it. I don't know when, but I will be doing business with them.
Well, and I think you make a good point. In a couple there in that previous conversation there is that everybody should prospect. And I've always said that, like the VP of my company wants to talk to the VP level of another company. The purchasing guy, or not as a purchasing, will talk to the sales guy. But people like to talk to the same person across. That's the sign I always think of how deep you go into a company is how successful you'll be with that company.
Oh, you just hit on something, because isn't it amazing how when a VP contacts another VP, they can have a level of discussion that the salesperson can't have. They're gonna have discussions. They're gonna have conversations. One of the challenges that I ask sales managers is I said, how many incremental opportunities are you bringing into your organization? Well, I spend my time just coaching salespeople and doing ride-alongs and working on account management. Fine. But how many incremental opportunities? Because you at your position can have relationships that your salespeople can't have. You can ask questions that you can't have. I mean, I look at every member of the organization must be customer facing to one degree or another. That's how you create a sales culture. And then when they're prospect facing, really getting out there and contact people that they don't know. Wow, that's a prospecting culture. I love that. And if you believe in how you can help companies, why would you not want to make that contact? Why would you not?
Yeah. I want to ask you something here, though, before the time gets away from us. Can prospecting be measured? I mean, everybody wants to, they have all these SMART goals and these measurements. What can we measure? And what should we not even try to measure? Okay.
Well, yeah, that's that. I'll tell you what, that's a piece. And I admit, I've gone back and forth on this. First of all, people say, well, we're going to measure how many sales we closed. Okay, I get that. That's a great measurement. But you know what, though? Sometimes prospecting can be a long, tedious process. And you can literally go nuts. Here's something I measure. First of all, let me give you a personal piece and then how to measure it from a corporate piece. If your job is prospecting, I want you at the end of every day to take a notepad and just right at the top of the page, today. And I want you to write down what was the biggest success you had that day. What was the biggest success? You may have had a terrible day, but you had one conversation. Write down one conversation. You write down what was that biggest. And then what you want you to do is I want you to think, okay, what is going to be my goal tomorrow? What's my goal? Is it one more call, two more calls? But you keep this logbook. At the end of every week, you look back and you go, hey, what was my biggest piece for the week? What was my biggest goal for the week? But because, again, there are going to be days that things don't work right. Now, let's look at from a corporate perspective. That was from a personal perspective. And believe me, I do that. I always end the day thinking back, what was the big success? Why? Because it motivates me for the next day. And again, I may have had a terrible day. But there was some glimmer of hope. Now, let's look at it from a corporate standpoint, from a business standpoint. I want to take a look at a couple things. First of all, what are the number of leads that are coming in at the top? And I'm going to segment my funnel. I may have 4, 5, 6, 7 steps. And I'm going to measure people going through. I'm looking at what are my contacts. And I'm not just saying how many emails I sent out, but I'm going to say how many emails did I send out and what was the response rate. How many phone calls did I say? How many phone calls? How many conversations did I actually engage in? And I'm going to measure this. Now, it is not a quantity game. I get it. It is a quality game. So here becomes the number one measurement you want to be asking. You want to be looking at. What were the questions you asked? How many times were you allowed to ask questions today? And what were the questions you asked? And what were the responses? So in other words, I'm gonna say, okay, I had 12 conversations. I was able to ask 20 questions, 25 questions. Well, how many did I get responses on? Those are the things I want to be measuring, because what am I measuring now? I'm measuring whether or not the customer is willing to engage with me. Remember, that's my whole premise. My whole premise is I'm perfectly willing to start out with 1,000 names up at the top of the funnel. Call that bad leads, but that's okay. But very quickly, I want to get down to just 10 prospects that are right one stage away from being closed. So I wanted, and oh, by the way, I got to make sure that along the way, each one of my leads doesn't get hung up. Because here's what I find. You show me a person with a fat sales funnel, and I'll show you a person who's not closing deals. And all they have is a sewer pipe. So all they have is a sewer pipe. It's just plugged up. Show me a person with a skinny sales funnel. You know what they're doing? They're able to move people through quickly. Because what I want to do is I want to take of those 1,000 bad leads, I want to throw 995 of those out as rapidly as possible. Boom. Get down to the 5 I want to converse with. This is why trade shows, drives me nuts. You go to a trade show and then you get all these emails. Oh, yippee, skippy email. Oh, shut up. Please, you're killing me. I'd rather go to a trade show and come away with 2 solid leads than 200, business cards or, 200. Let me scan your badge. Let me scan your badge. Let me scan your badge. Oh, scan somebody else's badge. Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm on another rant.
No, but you make sense there. And the way you learn how to skinny that funnel up is from the ones that are dropping through, right?
Right. Because now what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, what's the outcome? Because see, I build my prospecting process first by finding out what are the outcomes I've delivered to my customers. Then I work my way back up. And I say, okay, who are the other people that I can help deliver that same outcome to, whether it be B2B, whether it be B2C, whether it be B2G, business to government.
The high profit prospecting book. Yeah, I mean, you put a plan in there for people to follow, but we all know a cookie cutter plan doesn't work, right?
Right.
Okay,
right.
All right. So what are the most important ingredients of a plan, and maybe a couple pitfalls real quick to leave the audience here with?
Yeah, a couple of things. And I do. And I lay out a number of plans in there, but I say, because I spend the first couple of chapters saying, first of all, you have to understand what is your model. Okay, here's a couple of things. First of all, your prospecting plan must be built around your personality. 2, you must realize that the most critical asset you have is not what you sell, not your price point, not your list, not anything. It's your time. Okay. You've got to say, okay, I got to dedicate what is the window of time every day or every week that I'm going to dedicate. It may be 2 hours a day, it may be 4 hours a day, it may be twice a week, whatever it is, but you do that. What you want to do as a prospecting plan is you want to say, how do I start with as few names as possible? And what I want to do is I want to validate them. Now, here's what I'm going to do. And I talk about this in the book. If it normally takes you, this is the big mistake, this is the big pitfall. Well, we tried that for a few weeks and it didn't work. So we're going to give up on that. Oh, I've heard that so many times. And then I come back and I ask them, okay, how long does it normally take you to close a customer? Oh, it's about a 6-month process. Oh, 6-month process. Okay, so you tried something for 2 weeks and it didn't work. Sorry. Whatever process you put in place, you must try it for at least 2 times, twice as long as the length of your normal time to close a deal. So if it takes you 6 months as your normal time frame, the process you adopt, you must put in place for a year before you can validate, before you can really measure results. Here's what I found. I've seen a lot of people with bad prospecting plans, but if they just do it with repetition and enough, they're actually successful. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's spooky. It's spooky. So what this says is that more than anything else, it is having the dedicated time and the discipline to be following through and making the phone calls and the emails and however you use social media, doing it correctly, continuously, repetitively. That is the number one thing you can do. I would much rather have 5 names I'm reaching out to consistently versus 100 names I reach once and never again. If you are doing a one and done, you are going to be one and broke. Every prospecting model must involve a shampoo bottle. Repeat, repeat, repeat.
There's a lot of discussion on commissions anymore. What is your view on them, and where do they fit? Are there any warnings for anyone?
Well, yeah, the warnings are this. Don't have your commissions paid on strictly top line sales. You've got to have bottom line profit. One of the big reasons why people will discount a price is because they discount a price to close a sale. But when you discount a price, rarely does it change the COGS, the cost of goods sold. What it does is you're taking it completely out of profit. So I really say make your commissions be based off bottom line profit. Make your commissions also not be continuous over the life of the customer. Because this is what happens. Then you develop a few customers, you get a good customer base, and you never prospect again because you're feeding at the trough off the existence. So what I say from a commission structure, I'm going to start with a much higher acquisition commission. And then if you're in kind of an account management role, that decreases down, decreases down, decreases down. Because I hire salespeople and I hire customer service people. Customer service people, I can pay a lot less than I pay salespeople. I don't want to be paying a salesperson's salary to do customer service work. Last thing, once you put a commission structure in place, you do not change it minimally for a year. Nothing will destroy the morale of an organization than you put in place a structure, and a few months later you change it. A few months later you change it. No, you stick with it. And you do it in conjunction with your calendar year, with how you set your numbers, whatever it might be. I really prefer to not change compensation structures more than once every 2 or 3 years. I mean, I really strive. I was just with a client the other day, and I set them up on a compensation structure 6 years ago. And she sent me, the president of the company, sent me back a note that says, we're still using the exact same. And I go, yes, it's great. Creates consistency, creates trust with the salespeople.
And you still think it's a key for a salesperson to have a commission structure?
They have to have commission, because otherwise nobody goes to work anymore and says, oh, I'm bored stiff. I mean, I don't know. They're busy, but are they busy bringing in business to you? That's why I really want to create a commission structure. The degree of the commission structure. You do not go to work. I tell this to college students. Do not go to work for an organization that will only pay you 100% commission and no base, because then they have no vested interest in you. You do want to go to work for a company that has a base salary. Because why? Because that means they have a vested interest in you. They're going to help develop you. They're going to help train you. They're going to help, as you mature in sales. You've been in sales for 10, 15 years. Then you can move to a more 100% commission. But newer people getting into sales, you want that base because it creates an ownership and a commitment on the part of the company that's hiring you.
I think that's great advice, Mark. I've read High Profit Prospecting. I've listened to it, I think, twice now, okay? The audio is nicely done. I want to make sure I compliment you on that before you get away from me, okay? Great book. It makes a lot of sense and a lot of practical stuff you can put to use. What's the best way for someone to learn more, contact you? Of course, High Profit Prospecting is on Amazon, but where else do I find it?
You can, hey, jump out to thesaleshunter.com. When you got that name, you got to use it, thesaleshunter.com. You jump out to the website. There's a ton of things out there that you can download, you can use. And hey, of course, you can find me on social media. I'm all over social media. I'm all over LinkedIn. I'm all over Facebook. I'm all over Twitter. And I'm all over YouTube. But engage with me, because I love it when people, in fact, it's funny. Just yesterday, a gentleman, he was reading the book, sent me a question by way of Twitter. I loved it. Send him back a quick note. I said, hey, I'll have more time tomorrow. I'll get you a better response. But I love engaging with people, so don't hesitate. And hey, let me give people my number, because you know what? I talk about the telephone, 402-445-2110. How's that? You got my telephone number. There you go.
I think that's awesome, Mark, and I hope someone burns your lineup with it, okay?
I love it.
I'd like to thank you very much. This podcast will be available in the Business 901 iTunes store and the Business 901 blog site. So thanks to all the listeners out there.
Great selling.